If I'd waited to know who I was or what I was about before I started being creative, well, I'd still be sitting around trying to figure myself instead of making. In my experience, it's in the act of making things and doing our work that we figure out who we are.
Absolutely.
Art is theft. I guess someone is going to take it and someone is going to fucking post it.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
is what it is. And I keep on telling my team as well that, it's really important to work with your hands. Creation happens with your hands,
Exactly.
not your fingertips. Hey guys, welcome back to anyone who's listening so far. It's just been a couple of episodes so far, but again, after doing rework, it feels like that we would want to continue with bookcast because this book is really close to me. I mean, this is one of the earliest books I read. It's been 3-4 years, but still like an artist, it still seems to be surprising me every time I pick it up. So today we'll be talking about Still Like an Artist, and Neel has been reading it as well. And I guess you're almost there and
Right.
about to complete it. And this kind of builds on to top of each other. So why not continue the flow after rework building on with Still Like an Artist? So just giving you the cover as it reads. It's called Still Like an Artist, 10 Things Nobody Told You About Being Creative. So let's dive straight in.
Yeah.
Setting some context for Still Like an Artist, and it's a very short book. It's just a 45-minute, 50-minute read. And the core idea, of course, it talks about creativity, but a lot of you might not be considering yourself creatives yet. I guess that is what the perception is, that creativity kind of is a jargon and usually used with people who are doing art or are in
Related
artistic
to
discipline,
art.
yet
Yeah.
related to art. And that's why I want to give a different take to this book, and it is something that struck to me today. So while going through this book, I have been in so many different phases. Every time I pick up this book, whether I am looking at it from a designer's lens, I'm either looking at it from a creative agency owner wanting to be creative agency owner lens, also trying to speak in front of people who are from the design space or in the industry, so from that lens as well. So and today as a podcaster, so that is something. And every time it kind of surprises me. It's just so fucking amazing to go through this book every time. The idea with Still Like an Artist and today's take is that think of it as if you are going to talk to someone who is an artist by nature, and that is something that we don't usually get a chance to do in our day-to-day lives. Like, I don't know when I actually sat with an artist in my mind whom I perceive as what artists do. So think of it like an interview and just understanding the world from their lens, people who are artists in general. And if you look at the book and read through it from that lens, it kind of takes that pressure away from you of being creative and the whole creativity space. It's just understanding the world from their viewpoint.
Right.
So the very first thing that hits me hard when I read this book is the idea is, okay, so who's an artist, right? And to get to that point, you first have to understand art. And the first thing that you open the book, and I don't know if this is visible, but Pablo Picasso's words, and it says art is theft. And according to the book as well, an artist is someone who steals and steals like a pro. That is the perception of an artist.
Right.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been doing this for a while, and we are doing this with our stuff as well. Like this podcast is basically going to be a curation,
Yes.
or a place to sort of filter out all the noise and come up with stuff that people would want to understand, consume. But how it is going to come off of from. So that's something that we will be stealing
from people. Yes.
the ideas or concepts or whatever we come across as learnings. We'll be sharing that.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Why do we say that artists are people who steal? It's because of the notion that there's nothing new under the sun. and nothing is original.
Nothing
So
is-
the idea is that everything that exists and have existed is fundamentally a million year old, and every idea since our existence has been built upon, and it's a mesh or a remix of ideas that already exist. So if you look at products, or if you look at let's consider the classic example of iPhone. It's not that smartphones didn't exist. They always existed. Touch screens was not alienating concepts.
Absolutely.
Yes, at that point industrial automation was a thing, and people at the workshop floor were still using touchscreen devices.
Absolutely.
So what Apple did at that point in time was executed it 10x better.
Absolutely.
So looking at what exists, stealing from that and making it 100 times better or 10x better executed idea is art.
Absolutely.
And the whole concept is nothing is original.
Yeah.
It's just that most of the time we don't know the
references or the sources.
Yes, sources to
back
what,
those.
yes, those ideas with.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to add to this?
No, I think you gave a nice example of iPhone. I most of my life was revolved around software. So I'll give a software context. Like,
Yeah.
Anyway, like any software you see today, any piece of software that you sort of use today has its references back to the Excel sheets. Like anything that is a piece of software, it is probably something that can also be done with using Excel sheets and everything. So we sort of built on top of that. Excel sheets are the database, and then on top of you have beautiful UI, and then the software comes into picture.
Yes.
And now we are moving into another different like era.
A paradigm shift. Yes.
Exactly.
It's
a huge
artificial intelligence. Yes.
Absolutely.
Talking about AI, which is hot nowadays. What people are now saying or would get crazy about and will become this wave of conversation is the next big AI software or a product or a service that solves problems that ChatGPT created in the first place.
Right.
So ChatGPT is an idea. Artificial intelligence has existed since 1940s,
Absolutely.
50s. There was a first true potential of its mass commoditization or application has been proved for more than 60, 70 years.
Right.
And today we have, of course, everyone accessing it. But then people are not satisfied. Oh, it's just responses in a chat-like interface. And that's a problem.
Right.
And let's solve that problem. So nothing is original, and everything kind of builds from an idea that is not enough for a certain segment of people. They are not happy, they are not satisfied, and that's what human behavior is, that you'd always want more. Those are the problems that you create with another idea. That idea or solution would create more problems, and that's how everything kind of
absolutely
works.
Yeah.
Now, so what I'll just try to keep on recapping everything we've talked so far. So first, artist theft. Why do we say so? Artists are people who steal, in short, and they steal because nothing is original. There's nothing new under the sun. Everything kind of exists. Is just that you have to take these ideas, steal from more than one people, and then create something that is new. So whom do you steal from is the next topic. And page number 15, again, I will just keep on doing it like we did it in Rework. And of course, the pages won't change. Page number 15, it's climb your own tree, climb your own family tree. Is something that sticks with me a lot. And this chapter will give you an idea about whom to steal from. And I'll just read straight from the book. Okay, it's like Marcel Duchamp said, "I don't believe in art, I believe in artists." This is actually a pretty good method for studying. If you try to devour the history of your discipline all at once, you'll choke. So instead, chew on one thinker, writer, artist, activist, role model you really love. Study everything there is to know about that thinker. And then find people that thinker loved and find out everything about them. So the idea is that for me, in my case, I listen to Jonathan Courtney and I listen to Jake Knapp, and these are two people I really resonate with, and I've been chewing on everything they have to say. So I'm just finding obsessively everything that they share. I go follow them everywhere they are, and I'll just simply take everything that kind of resonates with me. And they talk about 3 to 4 people. Every book that I have, every book that I study or read is because that they have mentioned that author or the book.
Right.
And that's how I think that I'm climbing my family tree. Family is you inherit it. You do not get to choose your parents.
Yeah.
But of course you can get to choose your creative lineage.
Absolutely.
Your thoughts?
So there's a great, graphic as well. Like it starts from one and then it expands on that. I love the idea of this as well. I would love to mention that it is becoming really hard to really focus and narrow down on just one or two ideal people to follow and all of that. But I feel like that is the way right now. Since we are living, like we will always mention this, like information overload is a real problem.
It's a problem, yeah.
It's a
now
problem.
now it's a problem.
So these are some of the concepts or core things that you really want to learn.
Yes.
You really want to execute on. And,
Yeah.
Since I am myself lost in that era, I wouldn't talk much on that, but I would definitely be starting on this. Like I'll probably pick my
3 to 5 people. Yes, you truly
group
resonate.
of people and then try to build up on the family tree.
Yes, to not focus on the next shiny object that comes along, and that is the cycle initially used to be 1 month,
right,
or 6 weeks, something new would happen and blow the internet up. Now we are living in a place where every 4 hours something is shooting and people are losing their shit around that. And so the next thing is garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
And
that's one of the chapters.
Yes, yes.
Crazy.
Just by the words, what are your thoughts? What do you think that this is all about?
So, as I mentioned, I'm totally confused myself in that ocean. Like it's hard to navigate when you are on your laptop and trying to browse 1,000 things that come across. And coming from 1,000 to 1 is going to be a challenging, but going to be of a challenge. But I feel like it's something that that is the need of the hour. The focus is the need of the hour, and I'll probably take that one key moment from this podcast for myself is that I have to find that one person, or I have to stick to just one person to probably source all my information and then climb the ladder.
Yes.
If you have sorted source of information from somewhere, if you're consuming just that, then also you have to be very picky about what you want to pick from those people or those that kind of information.
Yes.
The idea is to get or to resonate with what is actually in your mind.
Yeah. The idea is kind of there, but I will just share the idea and then I'll just read out again a recap. Art is theft. Great artists are people who steal from whom. It's important to climb your family tree, as we were talking about that. Look at your discipline, find 1 to 2 people you genuinely love their work, follow them, get obsessed about everything they talk, they share, they write, they speak, watch them, and then they probably follow 3 to 5 people more. That's what they do. They love them, and they would always mention where are they stealing from. And eventually what happens is that you climb on the top of your tree and then slowly you start to branch out.
Right.
Most importantly, artists first, before they start creating ideas, they curate ideas. They're collectors of great ideas.
Right.
And it's really important to make sure that you are not someone who's just a hoarder, who is very obsessed with collecting everything. And what happens when you collect information overload, it's also referred to as digital pollution. And the idea is to be very mindful of what you're creating, what you're curating. So collecting. And I would just simply read out page number 13, guys. Garbage in, garbage out. The artist is a collector, not a hoarder. Mind you, there's a difference. hoarders collect indiscriminately, artists collect selectively. They only collect things that they really love.
And can steal from.
Yes, and can steal from. Right. There's an economic theory out there that if you take the income of your 5 closest friends and average them, the resulting number will be pretty close to your own income.
This is interesting, and at the same time, resonates more than you can actually.
Yeah, it hits you hard. It really hits you hard, and that the same can be applied to the type of company you keep. So that's a saying that the people you surround yourself with is the type of person you become or you are currently. But the same applies to ideas as well. I think the same is true for our idea incomes. You are only going to be as good as the stuff you surround yourself with.
Right.
And that is fundamentally garbage in, garbage out. And that's the core idea, right? With your ideas as well. And if you're going to steal and remix and remesh, you want to create something based on the ideas you have collected. The better your ideas, the better your creation.
Right.
Or eventually as good as what you have collected.
Right.
But if you collect shit, eventually you end up producing shit. Now let's talk about making things. So far you have been collecting, you have been creating. Yes, branching out. You've climbed your tree. You have collected a lot of stuff. Now it's about making.
Right.
That starts on page number 27, I guess. This actually makes sense for our podcast and this format as well. Make things, know thyself. If I'd waited to know who I was or what I was about before I started being creative, well, I'd still be sitting around trying to figure myself out instead of making things.
I think you should repeat that.
Okay. If I'd waited to know who I was or what I was about before I started being creative, well, I'd still be sitting around trying to figure myself instead of making things. In my experience, it's in the act of making things and doing our work that we figure out who we are.
Absolutely.
One of the reasons that we are over here is just that we're trying to make stuff now. But the idea with wanting to start creating and sharing your stuff, what stops you from doing that? What has stopped us so far? In your ideas, in just your thoughts, what keeps us from doing that?
I think it's always the resistance of being a fresher again.
Yeah.
Like, you don't, in a way, you don't really want to start from scratch, and the mind is playing with you, like, you're anyway at a certain level, and you have certain sort of, like, reputation or whatever
in your mind.
Exactly. It's in our mind. It's just that, these are some of the things that most of the time make people or stops people from taking the first action. And in my case, I would say that it wasn't really hard for me, because I have been always doing different kind of things, a lot different kind of things from another. Like, you wouldn't imagine, I have arranged so I acted like a wedding planner for one of the couple, and this is like a big name in CA industry in Surat. I wouldn't say name, and probably like nobody would know, but I arranged.
People are not watching us right now.
Exactly, exactly. So I did that as well.
Yes.
And then I shifted right away to being a digital marketing consultant, and then I shifted to IT, and so all of these things I was doing. That taught me one thing, that it's not very hard.
Yeah, in simple words, it's just an elongated description of what imposter syndrome looks like.
Oh yeah.
Or sounds like. It's just that it can confuse the fuck out of you. It will force you to be very comfortable, and it will stop you from doing great work.
Right.
Or even just work.
Right.
But work which is uncomfortable. Always a recap. Art is theft. I guess someone is going to take it and someone is going to fucking post it.
Yeah,
this is what it is. So art is theft. Artists are people who steal well, steal from home, from 3 to 4 people they really love. And once they're about to go and start making stuff, which we were talking at the very start. Also, artists are curators first.
Yeah.
Once they have a really good collection, I guess, of ideas, you'd want to start creating.
Right.
So how do you start creating? And the amazing thing that we really shy away from doing, page number 33, start copying.
Exactly.
And you feel like that, okay, how can I fucking copy? And there is an amazing stuff, again a visual on page number 34, is that even if you want to copy someone, you won't be able to, because human mind, our
Exactly.
hands, our bodies are not capable of copying something or someone exactly as is.
Right.
So even while you're trying to do that, some originality of yours will come out. That
Right.
flavor of you is going to come out, and that is you.
Exactly.
So is podcasting new? No,
No,
it's not.
absolutely not.
Are we copying someone? Yes. Fuck.
A lot,
yes,
lot of
a lot,
people in a way.
A
and-
lot of it is copying, and yes, that's how we're trying to build that muscle of wanting to create art and
Right.
share it with the world. And
Exactly.
art is not a blank canvas and you getting all messy and dirty with paint and all of that shit.
it's not just that.
Art is everything that impacts you and the people who are going to interact with your art on a very emotional level. If there's a sense of connect with your work for yourself and for the audience interacting with it, it's art.
Right. I also resonate with that thought, and I had a little different definition of art in my mind, and that says that art is something that you cannot really figure it out.
Yeah.
There are a lot of variables that you really cannot have a recipe for it. That's something I consider as an art.
Start copy as much as possible,
Right.
because that's when you will know that, okay, this style doesn't suit you, that style doesn't suit you, you can't do that, you can't do this, but you still have to, because you're stealing and there's no other way as of right now.
Right.
And that's when you'll try to add that skill that was always hidden,
Right.
to what you're creating.
Right.
And there's this amazing thing about Kobe as well, like of course,
yes.
great guy. Page number 38. So at some point you'll have to move from imitating your heroes to emulating them. Imitation is about copying. Emulation is when imitation goes one step further, breaking through into your own thing.
This is crazy.
There isn't a move that's a new move. The basketball star Kobe Bryant has admitted that all of his moves on the court were stolen from watching tapes of his heroes. I'm getting goosebumps, man. This guy.
We are talking Kobe
yes,
Bryant.
yes. It's no more, but fuck, what a guy, man. Anyways, but initially when Bryant stole a lot of those moves, he realized he couldn't completely pull them off because he didn't have the same body type as the guys he was thieving from. So it's a theft.
Right.
He had to adapt the moves to make them his own. So
now the rest is
the
history.
rest is unnecessary, right? Rest of it is that's it. Start copying, and
Exactly.
you'll find yourself there.
And basically, when you are saying the word copying, there's an interesting sentence,
Yes.
which is right here. Like copying is about reverse engineering. That is like
that hits you hard.
Copying is about reverse engineering. You are not simply stealing as is, because that's plagiarism. Right?
That's plagiarism. You're not taking someone else's words and then just removing their name and pasting yours. That's plagiarism. Copying is, of course, being inspired.
You have to see. You have to look for that. You have to see the way they are thinking, their process, their insights, and everything. So it's a lot harder than you think. But I think that's the way also.
Again, every artist is kind of someone who steals, and who steals really well. Who do they steal from? People from their discipline, people they admire a lot. Before generating ideas, they curate ideas. So they're stealing from people. And when the generation happens, first step is to copy.
Right.
To keep on copying to a point where you start finding yourself.
Right?
There's this touch that is you. That art is kind of then your own. And that happens over time. And which kind of then takes us into the next bit, which is really important. Page number 53, it says step away from the screen. And I'll just simply read this out because this hits you hard. In the digital age, don't forget to use your digits. Your hands are the original digital devices. Use them. While I love my computer, I think computers have robbed us of the feeling that we are actually making things. Instead, we are just typing keys and clicking mouse buttons. This is why so-called knowledge work seems so abstract. You never really get to touch anything that you're doing unless you print it out. That is something that kind of hits me hard. And there is another thing as well, which is on the flip side of page 53, which is page 54. You don't need a scientific study to tell you that sitting in front of a computer all day is killing you and killing your work. We need to move to feel like we are making something with our bodies, not just our hands. Art that only comes from the head isn't any good. Like musician play a show, watch a great leader give a speech. You'll see what I mean. You need to find a way to bring your body into your work.
Right.
Our nerves aren't a one-way street. Our bodies can tell our brains as much as our brain tell our bodies. Your thoughts on this?
This hits me hard because I'm on the other side of the game. Like I'm always on laptop, and I don't even like to take notes and all. But as soon as we read this chapter, I started applying this. I have sticky notes all over my workspace now.
That's a really
There's
nice
a laptop. I just go there. I put my laptop, but then I move, like actually moving from this chair to the second chair, and then I start doing like things with my hands, with my thoughts. Sometimes I'm standing up. All of these things I have started doing. I sent a photo to my wife, and she was like, "Okay, now you're actually doing what I was always saying." She always told me, like, you have to use like pen and paper to be really. And I always felt like, this is so much comfortable. This is where I can put stuff, I can hit delete, but that is actually restricting. That is one of the lines it says that, if you have it handy, you can
I can. Like one of the reasons, and I'll just add my context over here, that I feel it, and I feel it so strongly, and I really am good with pen and paper, to be very honest. And I keep on telling my team as well that it's really important to work with your hands. Sometimes I'm not saying that stay away from the best design software you're working with. No, it's working amazing. But creation happens with your hands.
Exactly.
Not your fingertips. Hands and fingertips is a different thing, because some people might get fixated about the fact that, okay, I'm fucking designing with my hands only. But that's the difference, And I'll just read it out. The computer is really good for editing your ideas.
Right.
And it's really good for getting your ideas ready for publishing out into the world. But it's not really good for generating ideas. There are too many opportunities to hit the delete key.
Yes. Like
the computer brings out the upright perfectionist in us. We start editing ideas before we have them.
These are some of the great nuggets that I took away from this book, and I actually applied right away. As soon as I completed that chapter, I went to my workspace. I rearranged stuff and started applying.
This to be very
exactly. You'll see on you come to my place, you'll see that it's all messed up. But I was like, it's all good. I'm liking it so far.
What we missed out is that what the book says, what Austin says in short, is that have two setups. One is analog, where you generate ideas, and the other is digital, where you edit your ideas and publish them. So have your setup, like workspaces, designed in a way that allows for focused, analog generation possible. This one is important, especially with creative folks. It's a stuff that never makes it to the final cut.
Right.
So creativity is subtraction, and again, it is something that I would like to read. In this age of information abundance, and we keep on saying this, we are information rich and time poor. So in this age of information abundance and overload, those who get ahead will be the folks who figure out what to leave out.
Right.
So they can concentrate on what's really important to them. Nothing is more paralyzing than the idea of limitless possibilities. The idea that you can do anything is absolutely terrifying.
True.
The way to get over creative block is to simply place some constraints on yourself.
Right.
It seems contradictory, but when it comes to creative work, limitations means freedom.
Right.
And there has to be some sort of constraints.
Right.
If I say that you have infinite amount of time to do something, the work never gets done.
You'll spend it.
Yeah.
You'll spend it basically. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the idea with creativity and subtraction. The true creativity is stuff that never makes it to the cut, to the final.
Right. And I think even Rework mentioned that they sort of had 500-600 pages of book full of juice, but then they reduced 50% of it, like 250. And now now when you really read it, you can really feel that every sentence is making sense. Everything is so powerful.
Like and the same with this book. This book is what? It's a 50-minute read. To be very honest, you open any fucking page and it will blow your mind.
Absolutely.
Any given time.
Crazy.
Any last thoughts before we wrap this up?
I think we are all good, and this is juice.
Okay. All right, folks. That was Still Like an Artist. Do still. Have fun while at it. Where can people find you online?
I'm everywhere and I'm nowhere. Sort of like that. I've just started being more active on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And we actually started being more active.
Yes.
So we'll probably continue. By the time you watch this, we might be somewhere else.
Somewhere else as well. Maybe
do
YouTube,
tune into this particular podcast, because that's where the juice is, and that's where we filter out all the noise as well.
Yeah.
For you to be as good as the kind of information that you should be consuming, we'll be providing that. Well, at least we will try that. Yeah,
we'll try to curate juicy stuff. We don't know when creation happens, but as far as curation happens, yes,
it will go out.
Yeah, it'll go out. All right, folks, have a good one.